Hello, my name is Tommy Castle, and this is my Sigma 6 DEMCA project for the restaurant customer satisfaction improvement. And within this project, we will be focusing on improving customer satisfaction from the current score, which is at a 3.72 to a 4.5 or higher. It's a score of 1 out of 5. So the highest we can go is 5, but we just want to focus on 4.5 and above. We are doing this project because we have a declining satisfaction rate, which has resulted in a lower repeat visit rate as well. And this has impacted us financially. We have lower revenue, less loyalty, and a negative public perception. Now, to help deal with this issue, we're going to be implementing the Sigma 6 DEMCA methodology, which is the define, measure, analyze, implement, and control. Now, the purpose of this is to identify the root causes, basically where is the weakness in our restaurant, and implement further measurements to help track and make improvements and improve that score from a 3.72 to a 4.5 and above. Now, the define phase. Customer satisfaction is essential for retention and financial stability. Any business cannot thrive if they aren't, you know, having happy customers. Okay. If you don't have people that are satisfied with their experience, their food, you know, their value, whatever it may be, you're not able to retain and make a financial stable business. And so that's why we are conducting this project. The overall rating has dropped below its target of 4.5. Additionally, the repeat rates has decreased by 10%. This dissatisfaction has not only impacted us financially, but it has also impacted the restaurant as well because it's made the morale low, caused our reputation to go down, and our revenue as well, as I've said already. The project aims to identify where the weaknesses are and improve the key service metrics. Now, the KPIs of this project is based on a score satisfaction of 1 through 5, and 1 is the lowest score and 5 being the highest you can give. Okay, and this is a strong indicator of customer perception. It is direct link to sales, loyalty, and repeat visits, and uses the baseline for tracking progress across the DEMCA model. Now, the measurement phase. We surveyed 30 total customers across 8 different variables or questions, you can say. These questions or measurements were the overall rating, the food quality, cleanliness, service, wait time, value, return rate, and recommendation weight. The purpose of these questions was to help identify what were the strengths and weaknesses of the restaurant and where customers think that we need to improve upon. And the results revealed some consistent themes across the board that need to be, elaborated and improved upon, while some of them were pretty high, but overall, all these areas could use improvement. Now, descriptive statistics. This is probably my favorite table because not only is it simple to understand, but it provides a pretty good understanding of what ratings provided the most information. Now, I think the most valuable portions within this was not only the mean, but the standard deviation. The reason why I like the mean was because obviously it shows the average score of that rating. However, I think the standard deviations showed a lot more character for the mean. For example, if you look at the service rating, it had a 2.87, which is really, 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 really low. Okay, it's nowhere close to our goal. However, if you look at the standard deviation, it's at a 1.08. Anything over a 1.0 in standard deviation means that there's a lot of inconsistencies within that the rating. Basically, people were all over the board with the rating. They're giving ones, twos, threes, fours, fives, and that shows that we had a lot of inconsistencies within our service, whether that was one or two poor servers, one or three great servers, whether we were having poor scheduling during rush hour or slow periods of the business. It shows that there's inconsistencies within the the uh, uh, the data. And for example, if there wasn't a standard deviation and if the score was just low, that means that overall, our service just sucks. And so it shows that, it provides a little bit of depth to what the mean is. Additionally, the strongest areas was our cleanliness and food quality. Our weakest areas was the wait time, service, and value. So digging into a little bit more and analyzing some of the key data charts. The first one is overall experience. Okay, it had a 3.72 out of 5. It fortunately didn't get any 1 stars or 1 out of 5s, which is pretty good, and had a standard deviation of 8.4, which is close to over a 1.0 for deviation, but it's still good. It can probably use some improvement, but yeah, it's gonna get into more detail with these next ones, especially for the food rating. Food rating was the second highest of all the ratings. It was a 3.93 out of 5. Had a standard deviation of 0.3. Okay, we're pretty consistent. That's what it means. We're pretty consistent within our food quality. Okay, and it doesn't mean that we don't have to change too much. But then again, we do have some twos, a few threes. Not a few threes is fine. Not everyone has the same taste buds, but it's over the frequency is over 6 out of I probably want less than 6 people rating a 3. Probably the more of four people giving a 3 out of 5. But overall, pretty good score, and there is room for improvements. Additionally, service rating was one of the lowest. If I believe correctly, it is the second lowest. It had a 2.87 out of 5 with a standard deviation of 1.8. Okay, really inconsistent. We had a lot of ones and only one five, a lot of threes. Okay, that means that we're all over the board with our service. Okay, we're really inconsistent, really bad with either the service attentiveness, response time, professionalism, etc. Okay, we need to work on this pretty heavily, and that's something we're going to do later on within the project. Additionally, I think that's some correlation between service rating and the not this one, but the next one after this. Sorry, but value rating was one of the lower ones too. It was a 2.9 out of 5 with a standard deviation of 1.6, meaning that we had only one person rating a 5 and 2 people rated it more than that. No, sorry, 2 people rated a 5 and 3 people rated it a 1. But it just goes to show that people don't feel or seem to have value within what they get. So there could be a lot of different changes for this. It can be, analyzing the menu and analyzing drinks, recosting things. But I think the biggest way to help people feel more valued is to do promotions, do deals within our restaurant. But going back to the topic before with the wait times and poor service, wait times had the lowest mean at a 2.63 and a standard deviation of 1.21. It had not only the lowest mean, but the highest standard deviation mean that were all across the board. And I think that there could be a strong correlation between this and the service. So, yeah, we're going to need to really, really, really work on that, and we'll get into that later. But for now, we just need to understand that service, wait time, and value are our biggest inhibitors to reaching our goals. Now, the analyze phase. The purpose was to determine which variables influence satisfaction the most through a regression analysis. And through the regression model, I got a 0.21 or 21%, 21% significant rate, which means that there wasn't one signal factor that meant or created the low scores for our overall satisfaction. It was a contribution of all the factors. Okay, it wasn't just one. Okay, and it had the strongest positive coefficient, likely recommended. Weakest areas, obviously, as I stated before, wait time, service, and value. Now the regression table, a lot of different stuff, but biggest things I want to focus on was no predictors were statistically significant. Going back to nothing was the clear indicator of or the main perpetrator for the low score. Okay, everyone had a little piece of the pie. All right, and it suggests that customer's experience is a multi-dimensional facet. Okay, it's basically saying everything has a little effect on the customer's experience. Food rating had a small negative coefficient. recommend likelihood have a strong positive relationship, and focus should remain on operational improvements and consistency because we are really, really, really inconsistent across the board, especially with those three weak spots. Now, implementation and improvement phase. We are going to highlight and really dig into improving the service, wait time, and value. However, we're going to also work on the cleanliness and food rating because while they are the highest scores, they didn't break that 4.0 threshold. And we would like to get those up and above, especially since our goal is at a 4.5 or above. So it wouldn't hurt to improve those as well. To help improve these sections, we're going to implement more staff training to improve friendliness, accuracy, and attentiveness. We're going to implement a new ordering system for faster track times, update scheduling for peak hours to help fix any sort of issues with rush time, and enable a better workflow within the kitchen so we can reduce delays and reduce just overall just chaos, enable more consistency. Additionally, value strategy. Be consistent with our portions, bundle deals, and promotions. Okay, whether it's probably do Friday night deals, Sunday deals, Saturday deals. Okay, stuff when people aren't working, aren't going to be busy, weekend stuff. And additionally, in the implementation phase, we're going to have new questions. The main reason I'm doing this is because while the questions in the previous survey were helpful, they didn't get into the nitty-gritty of why. Okay, like I said before with the descriptive statistics, it gave a lot of different possible answers for why the scores were as they were. So these questions are made to not only get more meticulous data, but dig into the minds of the how and why people rate things they are. And the reason why I like these 5 questions is because they're not too encumbersome for rating for customers. One of the big issues you have, especially I've experienced within ratings, is that they're too tedious. They're too time consuming. And we only add 3 more quantitative questions, and we add 2 optional qualitative. Okay, if you're feeling ambitious, we'd love the feedback. So these questions are: how satisfied were you with your server's levels of attentiveness? How satisfied were you with your accuracy of your order? How satisfied were you with the amount of time it took for you to receive your food order? Okay, these 3 kind of they do correlate with the service and wait time. So that way we're able to get a better understanding of the how, what, when. Additionally, the other 2 qualitative options are: if anything affected the quality of the service during your visit, please describe it. If you had any concerns about the wait time or value of the price, please explain. Now, post-implementation measures, before we get into the actual data after the new survey, we did repeat the old questions. We really wanted to hammer down the service attentiveness, the order accuracy, the wait time satisfaction, and really look into ticket time, staffing effectiveness, and complaint patterns. Now, the control phase, to enable and ensure that even after we conduct the survey, we're able to not only make improvements but sustain them. We're going to have monthly monitoring of new and original KPIs. We're going to have control limits to use detect performance where they decline and make rapid changes that negatively impact the restaurant. We're going to have 72-hour windows where we have to make changes after they reach these limits. Additionally, we're going to be consistent within our customer feedback, guidance, and adjustments, and ensure improvements remain stable over time, because the biggest killer of any sort of business is inconsistency, especially within the restaurant industry. So we need to be as consistent as possible, especially within the areas of service, wait time, and value. Now, before and after, we have the pre-means and the post-means. So pre-means, obviously, I think the ones that are the best and the biggest improvement are the wait time and service rating. It's also the ones I'm probably most worried about for the controls, but wait time almost has a full point above what it used to be. Additionally, we're pretty close to that overall experience rate goal of a 4.5 and above. Okay, we almost, what is that? Probably a 50.50 improvement from its previous overall experience. So overall, really good, especially for cleanliness rating. We get that 4.5 and above. That's pretty good. So, it's the restaurant's trending in the right direction and it's improving its overall satisfaction rate. Now, for its control limits, like I said before, the biggest ones that I'm concerned about is the service rating and wait time. Why? Not only because they are the lowest scores, because I think that they are also the scores that have the biggest impact. You can make arguments too, but for this restaurant especially, we seem to have an issue with the service and the waiting times for people. So, but yeah, once we reach these lower limits, especially for example, if we do wait time, if we reach a 3.0 under 3.0, okay, we're doing immediate action to help prevent decline, and this system's really going to help contain and support long-term consistency. All right, consistency is the main goal of this entire project, improvement and consistency. And so from Chalbus, I really like this quote: continuous customer feedback drives long-term satisfaction. Okay, we got to keep, you can't just give one survey and expect it to stay, good the rest of the time. Okay, we got to consistently gain feedback because things change, people change, and we need to adapt along with these changes. So, conclusion. The Demka Sigma 6 model provided a structure to identify the root causes of the restaurant's decline, visit rate, and overall satisfaction. Okay, the main things: service, wait time, and value. However, we could, integrate the idea of food rating and cleanliness, even though they were higher scores. Additionally, improvements were made to target the weakest operational areas, like I just stated, with the service, wait time, and value. Results showed measurable increases across all KPIs, which shows we're in a positive direction. We're building stability, we're building consistency, and we're building improvements across all boards. Additionally, the control system ensures progress remains stable, steady, and consistent. Keyword: consistent. And the restaurant is positioned to achieve and maintain its goals of a 4.5 satisfaction and above for long-term setting. All right, very good, very successful project. And here are all of my references. All right, thank you for listening.